Hello, my name is Rory Lacey, and this is a digital resource reflection for course EDLD 5317 at Lamar University. I would like to begin this reflection by talking a little bit about my own educational experience. Growing up, education was teacher-led. It was factory model education. Graduation was the goal. You sat in your seat quietly in your row. You did your assigned work, which was usually worksheets or book reports. You did a single subject at a time. You used textbook. The answers were often at the back, but don't look and don't share, don't collaborate. That's considered cheating. And unless you have a question about the directions, don't ask questions. Consequently, my first experience with a computer was in the 5th grade. My brother got a Commodore 64 computer, and we only used it to play Mission Impossible. You really couldn't connect to anybody or talk to anybody. When I was a senior in high school for typing class. When I went to college, I had a word processor that I took, and it was huge. And I also took with me a bag phone just for safety. You really did not use it because it was so expensive. By the time I graduated college, Nokia had come out with their phone, and you could text using this one, but it was pretty tough, and you could only text one person at a time. By the time I had my first son, the internet had really taken hold, and I even used the eBay on the internet to buy all of his bedding. About that time is when I started working as a teacher, and teachers everywhere were getting computers in their classrooms more and more. And so we were asking ourselves, okay, we have these devices now, maybe like 3 to a classroom. How do we integrate technology in such a way as to affect transformed, authentic learning for our students? We have this tool. How do we use it? We started asking ourselves these questions. And some very intelligent educational leaders came up with some learning models, such as TPACK, the technological pedagogical content knowledge. And I think these actually work together, even though sometimes people like to separate them. I think you need TPACK in order to move to the next step for me, which is SAMR. A teacher must have that content knowledge. In addition, must know that content well and be able to use it. But you also need to know how kids learn. You have to have the pedagogy, to back that up. And then the new piece, the technology part of it, that comes also. You have to have all three of these things. And then once you have those, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to integrate that technology? And I think that's where SAMR comes in, the SAMR model. Are we going to just substitute it? Are we going to augment it and change it in some way? Are we just going to modify it? Are we going to absolutely redefine and innovate and transform and create something new? And I looked for a visual on, I've seen it where the SAMR model is put next to Bloom's taxonomy, and substitution is remembering, and augmentation is applying and understanding, and modification is analyzing and evaluating, and redefinition is creating and evaluating. And I think, start out with TPACK. You have to have those base things. You have to have the content knowledge, the pedagogy knowledge, and you have to have the technical knowledge. And you take that and you ask yourself, how are we going to plug this in and make it meaningful for our kids? And I think that's where the SAMR model with the Blooms comes in. And then from that point, after you've decided, okay, this is how we're going to plug it in, how are you going to make it effective for your students? How are you going to introduce it to your students? How are you going to put it before them in such a way of, that you're going to get their engagement, their response, their voice? And I believe that's exactly where COVA comes in. The COVA learning method where you give the students choice, you give them ownership of their creative, whatever they're creating, you give them voice, and authenticity in their own learning. They make the learning theirs. It's about their learning. And I really liked this quote from Edutopia. Technology integration is using whatever resources you have, and I believe that could be technology or not. Whatever resources you have to the best of your ability, it's a tool. Exactly. And so we move to, what is education like today? Well, today we hope that it's student-centered, it's empowering, it's authentic, it's learner-driven, inquiry-based. We encourage creativity and curiosity, collaboration, communication. We go cross-curricular, integrating different subjects. It's a freedom to express your own learning in a way that you want to. We use growth mindset. We ask real questions about real problems and solutions. It's a way to have a voice, and it is a goal. The goal of it is lifelong learning. And I wanted to just kind of highlight an example from some things that I've done in my own classroom. We read the novel, A Long Walk to Water, which is the story about the lost boys of Sudan. Now, if I had read this as a student growing up in the education that I had, we would have, read the book on our own. We would have written the book report. Maybe we would have gone to the encyclopedia and studied about Africa and Sudan and what the terrain is like and so on. And that would have been it. But now we have a big water project. This is a cross-curricular unit that our math, science, reading, English language arts all work together on. Students collaborate, and we talk about water conservation. We use Google Sheets and Google Slides to do different things about which class uses the most water per day or per week. We do the water cycle in science, water conservation efforts, water consumption, filtering, sediment. In reading, we talk about point of view and the different characters and what they see. We use digital note taking and digital journaling. We use that's in Google Drive, that we use those tools. Students collaborate, do peer review of those journals, and oftentimes work together on those. And we incorporate the physical things, such as in art that they do. We do a thing on perspective. We take a picture of that, and we also include that in their digital journal. That way, those things go with them as they go through education. They're not losing that. It's not going away. It's not a piece of paper that's going to get lost at home. It's actually information they can go back to and reflect on and learn something from, and also that they can share with others. And the students love this. They love that book. We also, in addition, we have found this is a way to incorporate community involvement, because our Rotary Club has a water program as well. And so we've partnered with the Rotary Club here in Bonham, and we have actually a field day where we go out to the park. The students carry water just like they do in the book. And again, we have physical experiments of water filtering and all of these things. And then the students bring back that information, and we add that again to their digital journals, such as in G Suites and applications. Another one that I would like to incorporate there is ePals, where the students would get an ePal from Sudan. That's something that we're looking into for next year. The way that I stay up is I attend tech conferences, TCEA, ed camps. I follow social media feeds, communicate and build those communities. And that's my reflection on digital resources. Thank you. This is Rory Lacey.